Welcome to episode 4 of the Cinematic Flight Reports. It's April of 2021 and I'm on my way to return to Luxor. This flight to Egypt will depart from my home airport in Düsseldorf, Germany, so for the first time during the series, I'm able to drive to the airport in my own car. I live about 40 minutes away, which means that for the 6:45 departure of my flight to Hurghada, I had to leave home at around 4:30 am. Getting to Luxor was quite difficult at this stage of the year, as connections into the country were not yet as frequent as before. Flights from Düsseldorf were only available to Cairo and Hurghada, and choosing Cairo would have resulted in 2 stops flying 2 different airlines before finally arriving at my destination. Not the best idea, especially with checked baggage. So today, I'm going to be flying with Condor from Düsseldorf to Hurghada in their business class product. Like many European carriers, Condor equips their single-aisle jets with standard seats in business class. The block time is scheduled to be just under 5 hours, with an estimated arrival of 11:35 am. From there, I'll continue my journey to Luxor by car, which is going to add another 3.5 hours to the trip. And while my car got valeted off, I proceeded to the check-in counters and was happy to see lots of scheduled departures for a change. On this Thursday morning after the busy Easter weekend, the departure hall was rather quiet. Condor does provide designated business class check-in counters, so I didn't have to wait in a queue for too long. Compared to my flight in January, this felt a lot more normal, even though some passengers clearly had to remind themselves of those pesky baggage restrictions. Speaking of bags, Condor permits 20 kilos for standard economy fare, but when traveling in business class, you get 30 plus an additional sports bag of your choice. Most shops at the airport were still shut, so without further ado, I headed straight to my departure gate A79. This gate would usually send off passengers on big planes to anywhere in the world, yet today I boarded an A321. The business class simply turns a regular economy row into a 2-2 configuration by blocking out the middle seat and changing its labeling. You do not get any kind of extra legroom, which in this aircraft in particular can be quite painful as the seats are extremely close together. I'm 185 centimeters tall, and even when sitting up straight, I could hardly get my knees off the back of the seat in front of me. Pretty bothersome for a 5-hour flight. On their 767s, Condor offers a proper 222 business class with angled flatbeds. The airline is actually bigger than you might think. With a fleet of 49 aircraft and orders for 20 more, the long-haul product might even change for the better in late 22. Here in Düsseldorf, Condor took over one of the former Air Berlin hangars and now does some of the maintenance work here.
Thank you for your attention. We wish you now a very pleasant flight with Condor.
Even though it was April, the pilots didn't take a chance after a cold night and sent the plane to be de-iced. In the end, we left the gate around 20 minutes late, but as we came from the A-wing and didn't have to wait at the de-icing station, we were able to take off without any further delays, turning left onto the runway. Following a smooth takeoff, we quickly climbed above the clouds, and I took a look at the surprisingly generous amenity kit. On today's outbound flight, they included something unusual, yet really helpful: an inflatable neck pillow. Together with a set of earplugs, sleep mask, and even a toothbrush, they gave out a remarkable kit that their European competitors definitely would not have supplied on a flight like this. In terms of catering, both business and economy class passengers have the option to pre-order a meal online. The selection is the same, yet when seated in business class, one can select a meal without an additional charge. I, for my part, went with a Thai chicken curry. As these meals come frozen, anything with sauce, and curry in particular, is a good choice since the meat won't dry out in the heating process. I'm not a fan of the plastic cutlery and container, yet I found these snap-on trays to be a good solution in order to quickly and safely give out hot meals to passengers. My dish, as well as the 2 macarons, tasted quite nice. Eating my meal also helped kill the first 2 hours of the journey, and soon after, we were already halfway there, crossing over the Greek islands. The weather was clear, so the view out of the window couldn't have been better, which was a necessity, as with no Wi-Fi, the entertainment consisted entirely of the view and the displayed in-flight map. By then, the thrill and excitement of watching the 3D rendering had passed, even though I was happy to see that we would make up almost all of our initial delay. For further entertainment, I turned to the required documents for entering Egypt. In addition to the regular red landing card, one also had to fill out a health form, providing information about the whereabouts during the stay, as well as answering detailed health questions. But knowing these forms inside out, that also didn't take too long, so I decided to give the neck pillow a try. Luckily, my row was one of the few rows on the plane that wasn't full, so the aisle seat also remained empty, giving me a nice 3-seat couch, which allowed for a comfortable bit of shut-eye. During my nap, the plane had already reached the African continent, and we were about to fly over the shores of the Mediterranean Sea and enter Egypt from its north coast. Despite being world known for its diving resorts on the Red Sea, Egypt also has a vital tourism market on the Mediterranean side in the summer. I couldn't resist buying a model of the A321 for my collection at home, as well as an emergency power bank for my phone. It felt almost nostalgic to buy that off of a duty-free trolley that's wheeled through the cabin. Closing in on Hurghada, the boats cruising the reefs of the near islands or dolphin houses were a clear indicator that tourism was finally recovering. Still, every time I touch down in Hurghada, the view of all these hotels squeezed next to each other is exactly what keeps me from staying there. Some properties look abandoned, some green and carefully maintained, yet the density of these packed hotel complexes is just too much for me, despite Hurghada being a very popular destination for Europeans to spend their vacation in general. And in case you didn't come to this conclusion already, the applause upon arrival made it pretty clear. This was a textbook tourism flight, carried out by a solid tourism airline. Overall, I must say that the business class package was alright, even though the flight time definitely calls for more comfortable seats, or at least more legroom. But that's a can of worms that most European carriers like to keep unopened for the time being. Amenities were a plus. The missing Wi-Fi, as well as the lack of any entertainment system or even a simple USB charging port, was a rather huge deficit. But when you take into consideration that you get a lot of extra baggage, a free meal with free drinks, and all of that at a moderate surcharge to a regular economy ticket, that's not too bad. In other words, I've seen better, but also a lot worse. After collecting the bags off the belt and clearing my stuff through customs, Hamato was already waiting for me and showed me to the car. The hotel sent one of their Kias, which I already tried a few months before. The state of Egyptian roads, especially of those crossing through the desert, requires a car with a solid suspension as well as a robust design. The Kia has it all, with generous legroom, spacious and comfortable interior, tinted windows, a charging port, and even a reliable Wi-Fi connection. This journey promised a lot more comfort than I just experienced on the plane. I found my own neck pillow in my trolley and put Condor's sleep mask to good use. After the already long journey, I fell asleep quickly as Hamato drove me safely towards Luxor. I dozed off for more than 2 hours and didn't even wake up at the frequent police checkpoints we must have passed along the way. Reaching the first foothills of the city, it then felt like nothing had changed in the 2 months since my first visit. Traffic still was the same hustle and bustle, and just like last time, I didn't notice we had arrived at the entrance of the hotel before it was already too late. It just suddenly appeared out of nowhere as we reached the security checkpoint and the car came to a stop. Past the busy street at the entrance of the hotel lies this narrow corridor that, once allowed in, continues almost to the edge of the Nile River before revealing the Hilton Luxor. Here, you find a true desert oasis with a well-maintained garden, 2 outdoor pools, kind and helpful staff, as well as an excellent spa. Most guests tend to use the hotel as a base camp for their cultural expeditions in the area, pretty much like I did when I visited the Valley of Kings, and then regret not staying a bit longer for the hotel itself. Because when most guests leave to explore Luxor after an early morning breakfast, They won't return until dinner time, and that results in a quiet, relaxed atmosphere on the entire property, regardless of hotel occupancy. As for my 4-night stay, I again chose one of the hotel's 5 spa suites that all come with a private jacuzzi. This time it was Suite 110, which has a spacious layout as well as a private terrace. Refurbished in 2009, the room's decor is traditional, yet it features modern touches like USB sockets by the bed, as well as 2 big smart TVs. Its key feature, though, is its private treatment room with a spa shower and even a steam bath. While other hotels have to keep these facilities closed in their public spas due to COVID regulations, these private facilities of course remain unaffected and allow for safe use. After all, I really enjoyed being able to schedule treatments in the comfort of my own room, and together with a jacuzzi, this makes for an excellent setup. But it takes more than nice suites to make a guest feel at home at a property. And an area where the Hilton Luxor certainly excels is flexibility. You don't have to commit to a plan. The team will make sure that you can change your mind as the mood takes you. Fancy a boat trip because the light's so beautiful? Or a private dinner in an hour? Done. Off you go. As darkness falls, a whole other world reveals itself. If you walk past the hotel bar out on the terrace, you find yourself directly in front of the magnificent backdrop on the west bank. The reflections of the illuminated necropolis appear in the water ornaments, glittering across the Nile. Every time of the year has its charm here. Due to the surrounding desert, the temperature cools down pleasantly in the evening, a little more than one would expect. During my last night, the hotel was preparing for the upcoming Ramadan. I had already packed my things and decided to stay out a little longer and enjoy the starry night in the heated spa pool. For me, it was on to Cairo the next morning, because from there I would leave for Ras Al Khaimah and fly with Emirates first class for the first time. But that is a story for episode 5. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care, and bye-bye.